All right, and we again are Roll for Mischief, your favorite nerds. We are here with season two. So welcome to Shrouds of Arrakon, a gothic horror-inspired fantasy where monsters are the heroes, and everyone has their own dark secrets. So we're going to go around and we're going to introduce the players and who their characters are going to be. So, Alex, why don't we start with you? Who are you playing today?
Okay, question. Are we just running through and then we'll describe them later as the story unfolds?
Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be
All right.
moments to describe look and appearance and all that. This is just character,
Okay.
general rundown.
Okay. I am Alex and I play Silene Vermilion, a human bard who is very concerned with appearances and also has a strange connection to the spirits.
Kerry, who will you be playing?
I mean, you've just said my name, but I'm Kerry. I am going to be playing Tara Braun, human wizard, as you can see by my wand that I have here for her. She's troubled. She has a little bit of a problem with self-control. She's very stoic. Prepare for me to fight in my natural sass instincts.
And Matt.
I'm Matt. I'm Matthew. I respond to any name you want to give me, and I play the half-orc named Berin Fourmark, the grumpiest old man you'll probably ever meet. But let's face it, life has a way of just turning you into a grump, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And I will be dungeon mastering today, but I, Asa, will be playing Visik Alrius, or also known as Glasri. You can find out some more about that later. He is a Dragonborn sorcerer, and well, let's just say they've got some strange things going on. And you'll figure that out more when I'm actually playing the character. Because, like I said, today I'm dungeon mastering, so we're going to start off right away with a quick bit of setting the scene, as I like to do. So, the three of you, four if you count Visik, have all received invitations to a party, specifically inviting you. You are specifically invited by the monarch of Arrakon to this private shindig she has going on. All of you have received your invitations, have received carriages coming to pick you up and take you to said location. So as you are riding your carriage through the mists part, revealing a small forest of willow trees dwarfed by the spires of a mansion. The carriage rattles as it slows at the massive iron gates that open on their own. The beasts pulling your carriage snarl as it pulls its burden forward through the threshold. The manor looms over the grounds as you pass through a courtyard of ornate topiaries, budding with flowers of all imaginable colors. The tall windows of colored glass peer down on you as you step out of your carriage. Going up the steps towards the front door, there are two stone creatures flanking either side of the steps with bodies like lions and human upper torsos and faces, eagle-like wings coming out their backs, very clearly sphinxes. And you make your way towards these massive redwood doors that open into I wouldn't say a small, but compared to the rest of this house, it's going to be small. A small antechamber with a few guests sort of milling about, eating the fruits and drinking wine from these small tables littered throughout this room. There are large portraits along the walls of this room. And there is only one other door aside from the entrance door off to your right, and it is currently manned by a Dragonborn in a ornate breastplate with a sword at her hip, and she is kind of stopping people one by one before they go through these doors and checking their invitations. So I'm going to focus now on the specific characters as they're entering, because that was just sort of all of your entries. But of the three of you, Tara is the first. Tara? Okay. Sorry, I'm going to pronounce the name right this time. Tara is the first of you to actually have entered the building. There is, as you like step up to the queue to go from the antechamber into like the main party, there's only one other person in line ahead of you, and it is this hunched figure in a dark brown long coat, just made up of different patches. They appear to be wearing a burlap sack over their head as their mask for this masquerade, and the Dragonborn guard is looking at this paper and kind of staring at this figure with a look of disgust. And she thrusts the paper back into the stranger's hands and says, "These papers are clearly forged or stolen. There is no way you were invited by the monarch herself." The figure steps a little bit closer to the guard and says something in her ear that you can't quite make out. The guard takes a step back, grasping the hilt of her sword, and replies, "You have this one chance to leave. Don't make a scene." And as she's doing that, the stranger begins to reach into their coat. Clearly, the situation is not going to resolve in the way the guard hopes. So, what would you like to do?
Do you want me to describe my character at this point?
Actually, not yet.
Okay. Tara will. Oh, am I first person or third person? we should have a blanket at first or third person.
I mean, I would say first.
Third. Let's go first. Sorry about that. I sort of step forward, so I'm side by side with this sacked person, and just sort of clear my throat a little bit and say, everything okay here?
This sacked person kind of jostles back and pulls their hand out of their coat, not holding on to anything, and the guard looks at you and says, "Everything is fine, just have to clear the trash out."
Well, I mean, look, I'm not here to rock the boat. If this person has an invitation, then surely they should be allowed entry.
The person with the other hand, they have like, the invitation all crumpled up in it, and they kind of roll it out and hand it to you and say, "I do have an invitation. It is here. The monarch has signed it."
There you go. I'm gonna pull out my own invitation and sort of hold it up side by side and just be like, "Looks the same to me."
The guard kind of looks at you, looks at the strange person, and says, "Well, look, if this person causes any sort of trouble, I'm coming to you first."
Fine, though it seems an odd opinion to have of this, but sure.
The sacked person kind of just nods at you and walks through the door. What do you do?
Sort of not even nod back, just sort of just watches him walk past, and then I will just go to walk around the person at the door.
Okay. Before you enter the reception hall, you take a look back, seeing more guests milling into the antechamber. And as you do, you see a short human step through the door, and with her is a much taller orc. And this is the opportunity for Alex and Matt to describe what their characters look like.
Okay, bear with me, because part of Selene's whole thing is her capital A aesthetic. So I'm going to have to describe this for you now. She is indeed petite. She has hair that is maybe pale blonde, maybe it's just white, hard to say. It's a similar cut to mine, kind of more floaty and almost ghostly around her face. She, for this party, has got it elaborately pinned back with red jeweled pins. Her theme is this is my best approximation of it with my clothes, but it is like a red flower, and except for the base is mostly white. She has a white velvet dress with a bodice that looks like flower petals and paneling that also looks like flower petals, showing the fabric underneath. Her sleeves they're like off the shoulder, but she has a red scarf around her neck that's it starts out crimson and then gets deeper red at the ends. And her sleeves and the underskirt of her dress are this like silky white fabric that then becomes deep red at the hem. So almost just shy of looking like it's been dipped in blood with that sort of ombre effect. But in this case, it's supposed to look like those beautiful flower petals that start out white and then the edges are pink or red, sort of thing. The white velvet part is subtly embroidered with gold and silver thread and has tiny jewels of red and clear throughout it. And like she looks like she is made of money, and she also looks very dramatic. The sleeves are very long. The sheer skirt under the panels is very swishy. It's longer in the back, so it has like a little bit of a train, but just short enough in the front that you can also see her fabulous red leather boots. And she also has a matching red leather waist cincher that's like beautifully tooled and embossed with floral designs. So like it's a lot. And her mask, because this is a masquerade, is basically the flower, the white flower with the red tinged ends of the petals. And it's kind of a half mask so that it leaves her, sorry, wrong cheekbone. It leaves her left cheekbone free, visible, so that you can see the three delicately painted star-shaped red flowers that she always has on one side of her face. And her makeup is pristine. She is much better at makeup than I am. And she has red lips, and they are just precision. It's like a master artisan on a porcelain doll sort of level of precise. And it's just impeccable. And that's Silene.
And in stark contrast is this big, burly, grumpy old half-orc. Just, oh, Berin. What can we say about Berin? He's just this bald half-orc without a left eye, nice big leather eye patch covering it, long, shaggy salt and pepper beard, and then just this patchwork of mismatched plates and of armor and sort of little bits of just any kind of protection. So there's sort of a metal chest plate, a cheap chest plate, and then there's just one leather bracer on one arm and some shoulder pads, and just the biggest thing, apart from thinking of this crazy old orc and the lack of eye and everything, are the magnificent tattoos that he has covering his bald head. Just these ornate tribal geometric line works in the deepest purple that you can think of, which matches the worryingly well-kept cloak that he wears on his back. And not to sound disparaging, but compared to Silene, she's a dwarf in comparison. She's tiny against this towering, just grumpy old man.
I will also add that most likely he is carrying her bags for her, of which she has 3, and they are huge.
Oh yeah.
Whereas she is simply carrying her violin in its case with her balalaika slung on her back. So that slightly mars her perfect floral appearance to have but she carries her own instruments. She's not a monster.
And as the two of you step into this antechamber, for a moment, Silene, you get a glimpse of Tara before she moves on to the next room. So Kerry, what does Tara look like?
Tara is also similarly quite short. She's only 5'5", but she's slender, but looks like she probably does work out. There's definitely a level of fitness going on there. She has long, curly auburn hair that today is just about tamed back into a sort of half updo, very much like how I've done my own hair today. She's wearing essentially a suit. It's very well fitted. The shirt portion underneath, I mean, the way I'm imagining it is a very modern day suit, but medieval it a little bit and then you'll probably be there. It's very, very plain. It's very sort of striking, but also unremarkable. Sort of a white shirt, black or very dark grey fitted suit, the shirt slightly open, more out of like trying to look more casual rather than sort of a flirty attempt or like a lazy attempt. Everything looks purposeful. For her mask, it's a very simple plain black mask trimmed with just a red hem. And underneath the mask, you can just see this mass smattering of freckles.
All right.
I'm just gonna interject with as Silene sees this person leaving the antechamber, she will grab Berin's arm and say, "Who is that?" "Oh, I don't know why I'm asking you. You have no idea who that is. Don't worry, I'll find out." And then she steps forward.
I had the feeling that by the time Berin starts looking, like Tara's already gone. So you can join the queue and give your papers to this guard. All of the guards here just wear like fine breastplates with a inscription of like pretty much two dragons that are encircling each other. One is decorated in pretty much black or dark coloration. The other one is white or very light coloration. The antechamber itself is everything's kind of draped in white. All the cushions along the sides are white. The tablecloths are white. It just has a very pristine look about it. And as you make your way to the queue, you hear a very unmistakable voice. I don't know. I'm trying to think of what Henry's voice would be because I have a lot of him in my head already, but I hadn't decided on voice. I think he's actually a very soft-spoken older man. But you recognize the voice of a friend of your mother's, professor at a place you're quite familiar with, and you look to see this large man in a fine white coat. He's got a brass mask, the eyes of which are set like cogs, and there's like it's very much a Guy Fawkesian mask. He's got like the mustache that curls up, that's very finely detailed to look like an approximation of actual hair. But he is in deep conversation with a slender man in a dark vest, with a just a part of a mask that has rabbit ears that's just covered in actual fur. And Professor Henry does not seem to have noticed you at all. What would you like to do?
Are we still in the antechamber or
You're
have we
still in the
moved?
antechamber. Yeah, you haven't made it to the reception hall yet.
She's not going to say anything yet, but she is definitely noted. This is one person that I know, and that is important for her purposes. She's also just going to kind of like quietly under her breath, probably only Berin can hear her, just say, "Okay, showtime." And then when she steps forward to present her document to the person at the door, it very obviously says on it, it doesn't say Silene Vermilion, it says Lady Silene of House Toth Karis. And then she just kind of, stands very straight and hands it to the person with an excruciatingly polite smile.
The person, the guard looks at the papers and looks at you and says everything seems to be in order. Carry on through, Miss Toth.
Silene Vermilion tonight, thank you.
Miss Vermilion, of course.
And my companion. He is here as my guard.
So speaking of your companion, Matt, what are you doing while Silene is presenting papers and everything?
Berin just there's when you reach a certain age, you realize that those younger and most notably shorter than yourself tends to run around quite a bit and tire themselves out. So it's a bit more of a hands-off situation here. So Berin's just surveying, trying to take in as much as he can in that one good eye. He specifically notices when Silene kind of thinks, that kind of head cocking, just like, oh, I recognize that person. Berin immediately kind of like, okay, right. Is that a good recognize? Is that a bad recognize? I don't know. And kind of annoyed that he's missed Tara going in. Just like, damn it, why was I trying to use my left eye? No. And just keeping an eye on all of the guests as best he can. And then when obviously Silene goes up, it's just like, here we go. And oh yeah, this guy. Berin's just gonna kind of sidle up with the three bags, just do that gruff kind of like, just chin raise, just like, yep, that's me. How's it going? Can we get through, please? I was promised little bits.
I'm gonna have you roll me a
Orders.
perception check as you're
Oh.
taking in these people.
Oh, I was totally prepared for this.
I thought you might be.
Oh, it's good to know that my characters are always very, very good in their everything. So that's going to be a 6.
Okay. Yeah, you take a quick surveillance and you just quickly note the people, and for the most part, most of these people just don't seem to be of much importance. I mean, I'm sure they're on a political scale something important, but on your perception of, I don't know, danger, not danger, potentially going to be a problem for Silene, probably not going to be. You've remarked that pretty much anyone in the antechamber is of no note at all. As the two of you step into the next room, it is a large reception hall. One side is it's just 4-walled room, but it's massive. One side is just completely stained glass mural, and it depicts a woman in of a golden dress with large wings coming out her back. Her arms are held up to the sky as she stands upon this massive mountaintop. And in her hands is the sun, and the sun is just letting off these rays. And below the mountain is just a collection of a bunch of dragons and dragonborn of all different colors. They are all staring up at this woman who's holding on to the sun, and the rays of the sun are pushing back these dark gray clouds. And this whole mural just takes up an entire wall. The other wall is full of art, not unlike the room next door. The wallpaper of this room is blue. These massive dining tables are just, paralleled throughout this room with all types of foods, pretty much anything from any region you can imagine, foods you've never even heard of, just are all over these rooms or these tables. Past the table is a balcony that overlooks the ballroom. To get to the ballroom, there are staircases on either side of the balcony that lead down. And then on the opposite end of that balcony is another balcony with these red banners hanging off of it depicting the Ouroboros-like dragon symbol. And there appears to be no way to reach that balcony from here. It's got no stairs or anything. It's simply a viewing spot. But yeah, this is the main room where there are just a bunch of people engaging in chit chat. They are eating and drinking. You can hear music coming up from the ballroom that's like, it's the perfect volume. It's not so loud that you can't talk over it comfortably, but it's not so quiet that you can't enjoy it and still kind of take it in. So I guess we'll bring this over to Tara. What's the first kind of thing you do upon entering this room?
Survey the room, assess if I recognize anyone, who is sat where. Her first instinct is probably to look for military presence, whether that is in like an official sense or if they're there just like as guests relaxing, if there are anyone that she recognizes in that sort of sense.
Why don't you... I'll let you decide if you want to do perception or insight, but make one of those rolls.
It's probably perception rather than insight. 10.
Okay. As you take in the room, there are the few obvious, the guards with their breastplate and their swords. They are the only people in the room that appear to be armed. There are a few other people that carry themselves like potential military, but being that most people are just whole hog bought into this masquerade, most of them are masked, and you can't just by a quick glance can register who they are. Even the Dragonborn, with other distinguishing features aside from just faces, have dressed themselves up enough that it's hard to pick out a particular individual unless you are intimately familiar with them.
Okay. Is there a seating plan or what's the...
Oh yeah, I mean it's pretty open form. This is kind of like your invitation sort of played this off as a really good place to go in and like rub shoulders and get like into the graces of military higher ups. So it's but it's very informal. There are places to lounge and there are like actual seating areas, like little booths with some tables in there where you can just sit and eat, and then there's of course the stairs leading down to the ballroom. As far as like an actual everyone's going to sit down and get to know each other thing, that doesn't seem like anything like that is well thought out.
I think for now she will go and sort of... Sorry, again, do we come in like at the top of...
Yeah, the reception is like a top balcony that overlooks the ballroom.
Okay, she's gonna go and stand and sort of like leans her sort of forearms on the top of the balcony railing and just kind of look down and observe.
Yeah. So the ballroom is sort of set up like a round room with the way that the stairs kind of circle down it, and then the other end of the ballroom underneath the far balcony is a stage that is also sort of crescented to round off the room. The center of the ballroom is made up of rings that kind of circle out from the center of different metals, each of which are engraved in like spaced out runes in draconic. And there are a few people dancing on the dance floor, and those rings seem to spin in alternating directions. But like there's clearly a layer of glass or something over them because their movements aren't actually affecting the dancers at all. And you can see like there's a band playing on the stage. Yeah. And then underneath the mural there is, because the mural kind of stretches down to this part of the balcony or the ballroom, there is a set of doorways that lead out into what looks like a garden. Yeah. As you lean up against the balcony and kind of take in the ballroom, Silene and Berin, you two enter the same reception hall. What do the two of you do?
The first thing Silene will do is quietly. So I'm going to assume that before she entered into the main hall, she was able to ascertain where she'd be able to put her things.
Oh, yes. Antechamber has plenty of servants who will ask for your coats, ask for your bags. I forgot to mention that.
She actually needs to take the bags with her and set them up near the stage because those are all of her many performance accoutrements, as one would say if one were snooty, and we are. So so she would insist on, like, she would ask Berin to, like, once they get into the room and she can spot where the stage is, she would ask him to join her in bringing those over and like stowing them behind the stage or something. Her many bags. And then like as they're doing that, she'll say, once this is set up, you don't have to stick with me. I know you're just here as a favor for my mom's. If you want to make your own turns about the room, you certainly may. Or if you want to do me a favor, keep an ear out for whispers from anyone about what they think about me, what they might be speculating about me once I start making my rounds, because I'm not really sure what everyone has been told and what the rumors are, and I would love to get that information.
I was told to watch out for you. I was told that you love to hear what people said about you, but I was just like, yeah, everyone does, but dear Lord. Right. Okay, I'll keep my ears open, but just don't expect much.
Tara, as you're leaning over the balcony, you see the same woman you saw before with her orc companion descending the steps and making their way down across the ballroom towards the stage. The orc, bringing along all not all the baggage, right? Because not all of its instruments.
Oh no, all 3 bags are for the performance.
Oh, okay. Bringing along all the bags. Actually, a couple of servants would be at tow, also bringing them to, unless Baron refuses their help. Berin.
It wouldn't be an outright refusal for help, but it would be more of a, just stick close by, because at some point I'm going to end up trying to drop them on someone.
Do you need to make a strength check to see if you can hold all these bags at once while going downstairs?
Oh, no. I can certainly hold all of them. It's just whether or not, I can take much more of all of this chatter.
All right. As you even step down into the ballroom, what you notice immediately is that all of the like ambient chatter and noise that should be coming from the reception hall is heavily muted down here. The music rings out perfectly. It's quite a bit louder, but it's the kind of change in sound that would draw you into the music and help help draw you into the idea of dancing and of enjoying the performance, really accentuating that aspect. Also, if it matters to the two of you, underneath the reception hall, not visible from the balcony itself, is like a little walk-in bar area. So, the reception hall is essentially right above that. And I'm sorry, is it Berin or Baron? I'm going to keep on screwing this up.
Berin.
Baron, okay.
Do
Baron,
we
you
do
will
shots for mispronunciation?
absolutely. You will have noticed that there is a thin woman sitting at the bar, also wearing a brown vest, and she is heavily tattooed down her arms, and like her neck and upper chest area, and she is wearing a dark mask in the shape of a raven that appears to be made of real raven feathers, and she is just keen-eyed watching the dancers, and she has locked onto the two of you and her gaze followed you as you made your way across the stage, or across the ballroom to the stage. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if Silene has noticed
I was gonna have
the other person.
Baron notice that because he seems the
Yeah.
more suspicious type of the two of you.
Yeah, Baron's just gonna kind of right. Once I've dropped this off, I'm going to go head over to the bar. I feel like I need to hit a bird with two stones. No, hit two birds with one stone, but there's only one bird. Anyway, there's going to be birds and there's going to be stones, and it's going to be good.
Selene smiles and pats Baron's arm and said, "Good. I'm glad to hear it. You definitely don't need to guard me. I'll be fine."
Sure.
Tara, as you are, well, did you want to do anything differently than stand on the
Yeah,
balcony?
so she'll kind of like push herself off of the balcony after a little while and sort of sticks her hands in her pockets. She's rolled the sleeves of the suit jacket and the shirt up a little bit. Puts her hands in her pockets and sort of just slowly makes her way down the stairs. Her face is completely set, like there is zero expression on her face. And she sort of descends down these stairs and into the ballroom. She will take a glance over and clock where the bar is. And I think she's going to go and sort of lean it sort of against a wall, and kind of take things in. She gets quite close to where Silene and Berin were. Or are, rather, at least Silene is still there. Her thought process on this is that this woman obviously has someone here as like protection, and said protection has just left, which to Tara is the sign of being incredibly incapable at your job. So she's gonna sort of passively stand and sort of just keep an eye on the situation.
All right. Baron, fuck me. Baron, shots everyone. You make your way to the bar, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to talk to a certain raven-faced person.
And I'm curious what Silene is doing as Baron wanders away.
Well, if she notices Tara approach, then she's gonna do some just like laser focus on this person in a very nice suit.
Can I potentially
Red-haired person in a nice suit?
I'm going to potentially lay in a few snags and traps along the way.
Okay.
So Baron, you go over to the bar, approaching raven-faced woman, Silene, as you begin to approach Tara, a dragonborn with golden skin peering underneath his black mask, which essentially is just the eye visor. Um, think if the dude from Princess Bride was a dragonborn. It's pretty much what's going on here. He's got like closely fit black armor that looks or black clothes that looks to be made of like scales from some kind of creature. That person approaches Tara as you do, but he makes it to her first. And about the same time, you hear giggling from the dance floor, and look over to see a tall, slender woman moving gracefully, dancing with a dragonborn partner who's also kind of like thin and yeah, I would say fairly short for a dragonborn. But the two of them are dancing in a sort of a graceful, fun manner. He gives her the twirl, and then she twirls him, and you you recognize just on the grace and the voice alone that this is a cousin of yours, if I remember right. Artemisa,
Second cousin.
second cousin.
And is her hair the long golden dark gold hair?
It's done like up in all really high, like impressive bun for so much hair. But yeah, it's the golden like what's like dark blonde. Is that sort of the
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Um, and she is just wearing like a an elegant and yet also somewhere between modest yet like flirtatious gown. Um, and
no one is nearby for Silene to remark upon anything to, so she just remarks to herself, "Ah, wonderful."
Tara, this figure comes up to you and kind of like leans against the wall, but facing you, and he says, "You have the look of a military sword about you."
Tara unleans. She doesn't like being kind of matched by this person. Stands up a little bit straighter, and says, "Yeah, I served my time."
Oh, what corps, if you don't mind me asking?
Wizards frontline.
Ah, so hunting the monsters that go bump in the night, if I have my guess right.
You guess right. Someone's got to keep them at bay.
He like turns to be leaning against the wall, like he's observing the dance floor, and he's holding a glass of wine. He takes a sip and says, "Well, you should let me buy you a drink. You can tell me all about your war stories."
I don't drink.
Well, that's kind of rubbish at a party like this. How can you not drink?
Drinking can cause one to lose one's head a little. I like to keep measured. You never know what could happen.
Come on now. We're not in the war zone. You can afford to just be at ease for a bit.
May I ask what position you are in?
You may, but my corps likes to keep things kind of secretive. Um, then he like leans in conspiratorially and says, "But we are of the Blood Hunters Corps."
Interesting. I've not actually met too many of the blood hunters, I suppose, for the exact reason you just said.
Precisely.
Well, I suppose one drink wouldn't hurt.
Uh, how is Celine's stride going here? Did she change things up?
No, she's a she noticed cousin Artemisia on the dance floor, but you know what? She'll deal with that later. There's this person who's really attractive. She thinks probably that she would like to talk to, so she's still making her way that way.
All right.
So I want to know how much of that conversation that she overheard.
Uh, that's a good question. Why don't you roll me a perception check?
Mm-hmm. Ooh, I have new dice. I bought them. So I have the beautiful like ice knife dice that I won before, but I just bought new ones that are supposed to be very, they're kind of Silene with the swirls in them, and I'm very excited about them. Okay, let's see here. Yeah, well, that's fine. I'm sure it's fine. That would be a 12.
Okay. I would say you probably came in along the last part where you hear, one drink probably couldn't hurt. So possibly the worst point to listen in on.
Okay. All right. So as she's approaching, they're talking about drinks. Does the other person like go away to fetch a drink?
That's a very good question. He would be inviting Tara to the bar. He's not making it very, very, secretive that he's trying to buy a lady a drink kind of thing.
Then okay, all right. Silene, you know what? She knows what she wants. She will smoothly step forward and say, "Oh yes, drinks sound lovely. Hello, I'm Silene Vermilion. I'm going to be performing later tonight. Would you get me a drink as well while you're going to the bar?"
He begins to like kind of put his hand out, expecting this to be a introduction where he gets to give his name as well, and you can back and forth, and then let's go ahead and see how he reads the situation from there. He like does the for those of you who are listening, that was me like reaching the hand out and then doing the like hair wipe out of the way gesture. Like, oh, I totally was doing something entirely different. And he just goes, yeah, sure, of course. 2 drinks. Any requests?
Oh, just one, thank you.
And he looks at Tara.
Small wine too, I guess.
Then he begins to do the walk of dismissal away from the two of you. Berin, you have made it to the bar. The raven-masked woman was trying to put off the "I'm not watching you approach the bar. I'm the only person here, though. So, like, why else would you be coming this way aside from that and booze?" Air as you approach. You get up to the bar, and the man behind the bar just says, "Well, hi, sir. What can I make for you?"
Something short, something strong, preferably with audio dimming sounds, makes sounds lesser. One of those.
He laughs as he begins to mix a few liquids into a shaker and says, "That's not really how drinks work, but I'll see what I can do."
No.
And the raven masked lady, like, pretty much pushes off the bar and makes to leave.
How far away is she?
Probably only a stool or 2 away.
Oh, Berin's going to, as she makes to move away, Berin's just going to kind of hand out and grab her by the wrist. And I forgot I was getting around. What is it you're after, my dear?
She yanks her wrist away from you and says, "Nothing you have to offer."
I mean, I was offering you a drink, so technically it's nothing that the barkeep has to offer. So yourself.
She kind of rattles a glass in your direction with an amber liquid with a couple of dice in there, or dice, a couple of ice
Does
in
that count
there.
as a shot?
Mispronouncing the word ice, adding a D. Yeah, everyone take a shot. And she says, "I have a drink, thank you."
You also have a very long nose, pointing into places that don't belong.
She is about to walk away, but takes the bait, turns and sets her glass down and says, "You're the one who wandered over here and grabbed me while I aimed to leave."
You're the one who was looking at my charge so ever so intently upon our arrival and tried very badly to mask watching me walk up to the bar. If there's if that's showing anything, it's that there's something you don't want to tell me.
She just chuckles and says, "Being as I have no idea who you are, there are lots of things that I don't want to tell you. I do like to keep an eye on those of nobility and who they keep company with, though."
And what are your thoughts on the matter? Please tell me more. Grab a seat, pull up a seat. Trust me, I've got some stories to tell.
"Well, if Silene Vermilion keeps company with someone as abrasive as you, perhaps she is falling out of favor in some circles."
You watch your tone. You think I'm abrasive. Have you even spent a modicum of time with that one? If you want to hear abrasive, you just need to spend 30 seconds and your ears will be abrasived very much.
The bartender sets your drink in front of you and says, "Well, anything else?" And he's kind of looking at the both of you with a little bit of a sense of discomfort.
There's no need to be on edge. I mean, look at me. I'm old enough to be your grandfather. Nothing's happening here. She's just, spying on me and not telling me why, and for some strange reason thinking I'm abrasive. Do you think I'm abrasive?
She kind of huffs at your assessment of the situation and grabs her drink and takes the whole thing in one shot, slams it on the counter, and marches away. And the bartender says, "Oh, I think that situation could have been handled better."
When you reach my age, there's just no time for subtleties. Can conk
Well,
off at any point.
You are in amongst company of nobility. Subtlety seems to be the language they speak best.
Well, what can I say? Never been the most subtle of people. Who was she anyway?
Oh, I'm not sure that I'm supposed to be saying. So let's just say her and her husband are well known for their research into genetic experimentation.
Fair enough. It's quite impressive, to be fair. You'd think somebody spending so much time in books would, appreciate getting to the point. But, what can I say? There's some weird people here tonight, don't you agree?
Well, in my experience, when you spend enough time around the nobles, weirdness is pretty commonplace.
Very true. Very true. Come on. Give me a name. Whoa, look at me. Look at me. And he points to the lack of eye, his bald head, and then kind of just fondles his own beard. What on earth do you expect me to do? I'm here as a favor to that one's parents, and, you know, big fist just kind of pointing to where Silene was when he left her, because he hasn't looked around to see where she is at the moment. I was like, yeah, to that one. And dear Lord, if it wasn't for that, I could be at home or on a bench. Those are about the two things I get on in my day.
Will you roll me a either persuasion or intimidation, because you are kind of pointing your scars out?
Oh. See, it's not much of an intimidation though. And then I realize, you know, okay, yeah, that's pitiful. So that's a 9.
The bartender looks like he's about to say something, and then simultaneously, two figures, you know, about your size, kind of make their way up to the bar. One of them is wearing, you know, black scaled armor and just a eye visor mask, and the other is wearing a dark brown patched jacket and a burlap sack over their head. And they both say in sort of husky voice simultaneously, "Give me a drink." And then they both look at you.
Hi.
The masked one kind of nods, and the golden dragonborn says, "Good to see you. You came in with the entertainment, right?"
Yes, the small one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she just stole a date from me.
Oh, now that's impossible. I mean, she's so small. I mean, nah. Don't worry. How about I buy you a drink instead? It's not as if I'm here for anything else.
The masked one begins to pat their jacket, and then they say, "Could you buy me a drink too, please?"
You mean the sack man?
Sack man. Yep.
I mean, someone with such impeccable taste in masquerade attire. I mean, that does seem to be the finest burlap sack I've ever seen in my life. So surely you must be very high up in this whole political lord sphere thing. So I'm not too sure, but I mean, you asked nicely. Yeah, let's do it.
Are you wearing a mask by chance?
No.
The sack man grabs the burlap sack and just tears it off his face and lets out a deep breath. Can't breathe under that damn thing. I didn't know we didn't have to wear these.
Oh no, I do believe it is masks necessary, but I'm old and only have one eye, so they take pity on me.
When you kind of see him, they've got cracked, almost black scales that have just these lines of these veins of like green discoloration under them. And their eyes seem to kind of give off this faint glow, also emerald color. And in contrast to the golden dragonborn to your other side, whose eyes don't glow at all, this isn't just like a common dragonborn thing. And they seem kind of sickly almost.
Now, it's quite the impressive feature set you've got there, my bagged friend. Sacked friend? Bagged friend? Semantics. I mean, I can't quite comment, but some quite impressive decoration you've got on yourself.
They're, how do you say, uh, what you have on your head, right? Tattoos? Tattoos. They're tattoos.
Yeah. Never seen on a Dragonborn before. It's just so hauntingly beautiful. If only mine glowed.
The golden dragonborn kind of scoffs and says, "Beautiful. That fell looks like he's about ready to fall over dead."
I mean, I look as if I'm about to fall over dead. Doesn't mean that I'm not pretty.
I'm gonna go ahead and just move away from this situation real quick. So Tara and Silene, you have had a moment of time together. What's going on there?
Yeah, so the moment that this other guy like goes off to get the drinks, Celine turns to Tara and says, I apologize if I was overstepping. He just seemed like he was starting to get rather pushy, and I thought maybe it would be helpful for me to diffuse it, if the situation. My name's Celine. What's yours?
I appreciate that. I'm Tara.
Tara, that's a lovely name.
Thanks.
What brings you to the party?
Well, just rubbing shoulders with those networking. I call it networking.
Oh, I apologize. Did you want to keep talking to him? When he comes back, I can.
No, he seemed too interested in partaking of a drink together. I got the impression it wasn't quite the networking I was looking for.
Understood. I know several people in this room if you would like me to make introductions. I don't know what kind of networking you're looking into precisely, but I'm happy to help.
Okay. Well, anyone with some sort of military positioning, I suppose, would be of help.
That is somewhat outside of my range of expertise. If you were looking for scholars or nobles or mostly those two, actually, I would be able to help. Or musicians.
Yes, I could tell that you're not a soldier. Far too. No, you're not a soldier. I do appreciate the offer though. So you're going to be playing?
Yes, a little later on. The program is. It'll be a bit before I go on. Just a few songs, but I'm very excited. This will be. Don't tell anyone else, but this will be my first set performing for this kind of audience outside of the college. So, wish me luck.
Well, yeah. Good luck. You're the person that you were with. They looked like they were here more like a guard of some sort than a male companion or just a friend.
Yes, my mothers are extremely overprotective, and when they found out that I was coming here, they insisted that someone join me. And Berin belongs to a family that my mother, Aliran, has ties with, and so they tapped him for the job. I don't think either of us are particularly happy with the arrangement. I get the impression that he doesn't like me, but nonetheless, here we are. You should know I am, in case you didn't know, I'm from the House Toth Karis in Sarkany. The governor there is my mother.
Okay, I mean I spent some time positioned there for a short while. It's as far as duchies go, it's one of the better ones.
I like to think so. But it's been a long time since I've been there, and so hence the overprotective mothers.
Well,
But if ever you should like to visit.
thanks. I don't really do much traveling these days. If you were supposed to be under protection, should he not be in the? He probably shouldn't be in the bar drinking.
Well, I told him that I didn't really need him, and apparently he took me at my word. So here we are.
Well, not necessarily the decision I would have made if I were him, but each to their own, I suppose.
I think that there are just levels that parents take things to that aren't necessary. That's really, I appreciate their concern, but it's not really needed.
So are you here just to play, or what's?
Oh yeah, a bit of both. I'm here in two capacities. As a portion of the entertainment, and also as a member of the governing class, a role to which I am maybe a bit rusty, actually. I've been at school for quite some time, but which is why I can introduce you to members of the noble class if you so choose, but not soldiers.
Well, I mean, where are my manners? Perhaps I should have curtsied or something. And then
Oh,
there's,
no.
this is the only time so far that a very slight smirk twitches on her lips, but it is very quickly gone.
Silene waves her hand and says, "It's really predominantly, more than anything, I'm trying to set aside my old identity and put forth my new identity as a bard, which is why Silene Vermilion, my stage name, is also what I prefer to go by."
Very well.
Over at the bar, the Dragonborn, the Golden Dragonborn, like, he looks over at the two of you, Matt and Masked Man, and like just goes, "Oh shit! I know who you are. You're Visik Alaris, aren't you? Didn't think I'd see you out here. Family says you've gone missing. Yeah, well, no one's really offering a reward for you anyway. Hey, look, I've got some drinks to deliver. Any two of you want to help me out with that?"
Ooh. Can't believe you're taking an old man from his chair, but sure. You
Yeah.
need to do something for me first.
All right.
Actually, how many drinks are you taking over?
Oh, these two wines. Just going over to those two ladies over there.
Okay. And I reach out and I grab both of them. So one in each hand. Oh, actually, looks like I'm carrying two. That means two things for me.
And Visik picks up his own drink that you bought him and said, "And I've got mine. I'll carry that."
Oh, thank you for your contributions to society, young man. As I was saying, Shorty, what's the word?
I don't know what you mean by that.
So Berin kind of like uses his head to point to where Silene now is.
Oh, okay.
Like, Shorty, well, what's the word? What are people saying? I hear because apparently she's hanging out with me. She's no longer keeping good company or something like that.
The Dragonborn looks over and kind of squints and says, "Her? Who is that?"
Now that's what I was hoping you were going to say. And Berin starts kind of making his way to move and goes, and can he see the raven masked lady?
Roll me a perception roll.
So that would be no. That I really shouldn't call it before I roll, but that's 10.
That would be no.
Yeah. There's also no, I know it's a bit taboo to be asking these things in a masquerade, but my time on this earth is limited. There's somebody wandering around in a raven mask. Seemed to be giving me the stink eye. Do you know who that might be?
Says, I might. Tell you what, drop those drinks off and I'll tell you afterward.
Well, technically you held up your side of the bargain. And he steps up and kind of just flexes a little bit, just like, oh, Jesus. Like, all right, so it's going to my charge and the other one, right?
He just nods.
Name's Berin, by the way. I'll be back if she doesn't talk my ear off. And I start making my way over.
Are you gonna wait for him to give his name? Because I've got to just need to pull it up.
Yeah, like yeah. Berin seizes his hip, decides to give out for a second. It must be damp out.
Yeah, he just he turns his back to you to where he's facing the bar and he's putting his attention on his drink, and he says, call me Borstad, Captain Borstad. Good to meet you.
I always like the captains. Reminds me of when there was still something to captain over. And just kind of not even, he doesn't try to slink his way through anybody else. He just, hi there, my name's Moses, Red Sea. Open up, thank you. Just kind of walking his way through to get to Silene and Tara.
You begin to walk your way just across the dance floor, kind of pushing your way through dancers.
Yeah.
Visik actually gets up carrying his own drink and follows you. Because he's got the duty of carrying his drink. That was his part. Silene, you kind of notice that Berin is on his way, and you observe, possibly not with any displeasure, that he jostles. Oh gosh, your cousin. Her name is available to me, but it's not available in front of me. Artemisia. Yeah. He kind of jostles her and her partner a bit as he's moving through the crowd. Berin and the strange Dragonborn that Tara will remember even without his burlap sack on approach the two of you, and without the sack on their face, Silene, you recognize Visik, though he looks much worse for wear compared to the last time you saw him.
She leans over to Tara and says, we are about to have some very strange company. Brace yourself.
Nods, straightens up a little. It's kind of...
And our drinks, apparently.
Yeah. Berin comes with the drinks. Visik comes slouching next to him and takes a drink of his own, and then kind of makes a face.
Silene has visibly stood up straighter as well, like she's bracing for battle because of Visik, but she's not said anything yet.
Visik kind of haphazardly looks up at the two of you and then looks back to his drink. He gives no visual sign of recognition.
Is he drunk already?
Well, you lost the other guy. That's at least you've done something good tonight.
At least that. Okay. Sorry, what were you gonna say, Matt?
No, it was. I was going to ask if you asked that question to the room, whether he was drunk or not.
She said it very quietly, mostly to Tara.
So, I believe I've got an order of 2 wines.
Silene reaches out for her glass.
That one's for you,
She
and
takes a very small sip.
for your friend here. And I just kind of thrust it at Tara, just like, there you go.
She takes it, doesn't take a sip, just sort of holds it.
And then Visik says, "And for me," and then takes a big drink, and then just
Huh.
May I introduce my new pet? This is Visik. I met him 2 seconds ago, and we seem to have hit it off.
At the sound of his name, Visik seems to not even register that he is being spoken about.
Huh. We've met. So good job. Celine like pats Berin's arm very like in the exact manner that someone who is not at all pleased with the decision you've made might try to pretend that everything's fine.
Thank you. I'm just, doing my job. Your mother said that it was some sort of networking event, so I am, as they say, making a network of people. By the way, apparently, you're not being held in very high regard for hanging out with yours truly. Apparently, coming to these things with me is losing standing, I think the words were. I don't know, weird crow woman.
Well, what does she know?
I tried to find out. She wasn't very accommodating.
Oh, then probably she knows nothing, and we should ignore her.
Fair enough. I've got Goldie over by the bar who's going to give me the name.
Oh, yes, I do know you. You're Silene. Yes.
Yes. And you
Good
are
to-
Visik.
Yes, I am Visik. That is correct. That is me. Visik Alrius.
Yes, you're of House Alaris, and I am of House Toth. And yet here we are.
Yes, it's good for the houses to be around each other again. And then he kind of like stops and gets this puzzled look on his face. No, that's not right. Wait. And before he can say any more, the band stops the song that it's playing, and there is like a quick little trumpet solo to get everyone's attention. And one of the like head of the band, the lead singer, will say, "I've just gotten word that the monarch is going to be joining us very soon." And at these words, you all kind of hear this metallic contraption at work. And as you look up towards the direction of the sound, it's above that one balcony that is inaccessible, and there is like this metal cage slowly lowering, very very elevator style, and it comes down to level with that upper balcony, and then the doors open, and out steps a figure in a flowing red dress, and then behind her another figure comes in tow that towers over her by a good foot. And as she makes her way to the edge of the balcony, the railing begins to lower, and then steps begin to descend from the balcony, and she starts to take a step down these mechanical steps as they're descending. She has this, like I said, flowing red dress that has these interconnected black lines that come along them. The hem of her dress sort of loops back and connects to the wrists of her gown, and as she sort of stretches her hands as she's walking down these steps, they sort of flow out like wings. She is wearing a mask. The front is in the shape of a red dragon, and along the right side is the shape of a blue dragon, and the left side is the shape of a green dragon. She makes her way down the steps to the center of the ballroom. Behind her is a dragonborn with white scales, similar cracks along them like Visik's, but with red sort of intertwined in them, and their eyes are kind of faintly glowing red. They have like kind of fine clothes that are more revealing of their physical prowess. And around their wrists are bracelets that have little chains that come off them that end in sort of an ethereal magical shimmer. And as the monarch makes her way down the ballroom, like it begins to clear out as the floor lifts to meet her, kind of lifting in time with those little metal rings, and her stairs reach the center part of this dance floor, and she spreads her hands out, kind of gesturing towards everyone, and says, "Welcome to my home. Now please eat, drink, dance, have a wonderful time. And should you need me, I will be around." She has stepped down from her dais as the ballroom, rings begin to lower again. The stairs begin to make their way up to the top balcony, and she begins to just drift around the party, making introductions to people. All the while, this Dragonborn is kind of just following her around, just kind of like as a placid lapdog. And yeah, the four of you have all seen her make this entrance, and Silene has even made comment about how much of an entrance it was.
I meant to ask this and I kept forgetting because maybe I just kept missing it. But is the monarch, the form that she is taking, is it human or dragonborn?
With the mask on, it could be either.
Okay, like you can't really tell from the build, because usually you can tell from like the.
Yeah, actually, like her outfit covers a lot of skin.
Mm.
I would even say she's wearing gloves. Like none of it is visible.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, you couldn't really tell what she looks like underneath, and the mask is big enough that if she wasn't dragonborn shape, it would cover her entire head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then same question about the stained glass window when we saw it the first time, the one with the sun pushing the clouds out. Was that a human figure or
that appeared to be a
Dragonborn?
human figure?
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. I think for like at least for a moment, Silene will just kind of watch and see like how the monarch progresses and kind of make a note of what she's doing.
Yeah, so she'll go to the bar, she'll greet the gold dragonborn over there. She moves as though she's not even touching the ground. She speaks in wide gestures, letting her dress kind of flow beside her. She never touches anyone. Yeah, she greets the red dragonborn. She will make her way up to the reception area. Silene could see her on the balcony above, where the reception area is at, speaking with the man you'd seen before in the robotic mask. Yeah, after just kind of making your way and greeting very specific individuals. Yeah. As you are taking that in, you hear your name said from not far away in the ballroom. A woman's voice says, "Silene, is that you?"
Is it Artemisia?
It's Artemisia.
Silene, there's like a very slight grimace on her face for a moment before she like pastes on the smile and turns to where the voice is coming from and says, Artemisia, it's so good to see you. It's been too long.
Silene, dear, we haven't seen you in the circles of, well, high society in a while. How have you been?
Well, I've been doing the Bard School, and just it's been a lovely experience to be surrounded by all of this music and art, and just the experience of, it's really just soul filling. And you, how have you been?
I imagine, she's kind of like flowed up to you and taken your hands in
The-
hers and done the
air kisses.
She has to like bend low.
Yeah.
She is definitely not the tallest person in this group, but the tallest human in this group. And she says, "Oh, that sounds delightful. You'll have to share me these, or share your stories of such grand culture. I have been, well, at one event like this or another. I've made my way to quite a few different duchies in the last month. I can't count the number. It's got to be more than 9, but definitely not all 13.
Well, that's very impressive. You've been on some sort of mission for the good of all of the island, or all the stuff you do?
Wounds and says, "Oh, I wish. No, it seems that Father thinks I should be spending my time looking after suitors. I don't have the energy for that, but that's what he wants, so I'm going to indulge him for a little bit, and it's a wonderful opportunity for me to travel.
Oh, of course.
Get to know the kingdom."
Tara's gonna clears her throat and sort of sticks out a hand and says, "Tara Braun, it's nice to meet you. I feel we have some sort of, we can bond over a thing in common. It is awfully difficult attending these kind of events without any formal dance training or any real lessons in dance." There's again there's like a little smirk that she's very obviously like, it's a little bit of a dig.
She takes her hand and says, "Well, I happen to know a wonderful dance instructor if you ever need someone."
I'm okay. Thank you.
I wish I knew more of the pop culture references in this kingdom, because I suddenly know exactly who this person is.
The dance instructor?
No. Artemisia. Tahani. She's Tahani.
She is Tahani.
In every way.
She is definitely Tahani. Silene says, "Oh yes, the dance instructor. I too have studied with the same one, and I got very high marks. It was a lovely experience."
Well, I'm sure we don't mean the same person. I am, of course, talking about the instructions that I took. Oh my goodness! Now I'm trying to look at the capital's name. I have to have my notes in front of me, and I don't. Arius. That's how I decided to say that. Correct? The instructions I've received recently have been straight out of the capital, straight into Arrius.
Ah,
There's a
well, then
wonderful
how?
dance academy there, and the head of the academy has trained me herself. It's quite a miraculous thing.
If only the rest of us could be so lucky. By
If
the way,
only.
Tara, this is my second cousin, Artemisia Toth.
Oh. I appreciate the introduction. I would never have guessed the connection.
Yeah, they don't look alike.
No. And these gentlemen,
I have no idea. Did they introduce themselves? Oh yeah, obviously. Well, Artemisia, of course. You know, our old friend Visik.
I will say, in the time that the monarch came down, Visik put his sackcloth mask back on.
Oh. And she looks, it's like, I see that the mask has reappeared. Surely you recognize the flawless competence of this visage.
Tara, or not Tara, I'm wrong name. Artemisia just sort of like touches Visik's hand as like a gesture, and then says, "Yes." And you are? She turns to Berin.
Me? I'm an unlucky person that knows her father. Her father? Oh, they wouldn't like that. They really wouldn't like that. That's a slip of the orcish tongue there. I know the mothers.
Yes, this is Berin. His family works with Alrion.
I see. Well, it's good that you have come with protection, I suppose. Though I can't see what there is here to count as any danger.
I mean,
I've said as much.
Seen the Raven person?
Well, I must see if I can make an introduction with the monarch. I was invited here by invitation.
Oh yes, as were we all, I believe. Well, at least I was.
She has a moment of like having to hold back the face of like.
But were you
kind of,
really?
Yeah. And she just sort of pats you on the shoulder and says, "Good for you, dear."
Like condescending bench. That's obviously not what Silene says.
Yeah.
But you could see it in her face the moment like she doesn't think Artemisia's looking at her.
Yeah. Visik has gone back to sort of staring around at the room. He's attempted to drink through his burlap sack. What are the rest of you doing?
I mean, Tara's just standing, like listening to the conversation. She's a very observant person. She doesn't really get into the conversations too much. She just kind of takes it in, and like it's the kind of thing where it's like Tara will remember this, you know.
Tara will remember this in the future.
Yeah.
Aaron's going to go the opposite way, and he's going to kind of ignore the fancy pants second cousin. They don't. Silene can take care of herself with that. I mean, she just has to talk for a couple minutes and danger over. Baron's going to sort of kind of look Tara up and down and kind of try and figure out what's going on here, because she doesn't seem like the right fit for such an outgoing person as Silene to gravitate towards. So yeah, Baron wants to just kind of try and get an idea of Tara from her look, 6.
Roll me an insight check.
Oh my days, I did not see that one come in. So that would be 17.
Kerry, do you want to take this? Do you want to kind of give Berin what he realizes with a 17 insight check?
Okay. So he would have noticed how even when she sort of leans back against the wall, there's always this sort of rigidity to her form. She's always very like, unlike me, very straight backed. Like shoulders always seem like, you imagine that she's probably very stiff. Like she always has probably aching shoulders. She most often has her hands in her pockets, but since she's been given this glass of wine, she has held it sort of just near her sort of midsection, but you will have noticed she hasn't taken a drink at all. She's not really, she's keenly watching the situation, but she has zero expression on her face. But you can see, you kind of can watch her eyes sort of like dart between the two women as they're speaking. I mean, that's kind of it right now. Like her jaw is quite set. She doesn't look relaxed at all. And a similar thing as I said before, her outfit looks like it's almost forcefully casual in terms of like the undone, like the shirt being a little bit undone, the sleeves rolled up. It looks like it's everything has been done for a reason rather than she's just that cool.
So with that, whilst Silene and second cousin, because I'm going to say the name wrong and I don't want to put shots in, are kind of chatting away, Berin's going to sidle up next to Tara and just kind of sidle up, just like when you're introducing yourself to a new pet. You just kind of, just slowly make your way over and kind of like, I'm not here to startle or anything like that. Orcs are friends, not food. And Berin's just going to go, you look about as comfortable as I feel in here.
Well, this kind of thing isn't my usual, it's a favoured activity of mine here. And kind of necessity.
I can tell you haven't touched that wine that I brought over. Trust me, I haven't poisoned it.
I'm just not a drinker. Gets to the head too quick. You can have it if you want.
Thanks, but no thanks. I'm more of a short and strong rather than long and useless. So, I take my drinks. Yeah, I like the strong stuff. Anyway, well, I mean, so you're here to network too. What are you looking for?
I recently took some leave from the armed forces, and I feel like it's time that I re-enter such a position, and I was told there would be people who could get me in, basically.
Fair enough. I mean, it might be of use to you, but I did bump into a captain, a golden boy. I don't think he's over by the bar anymore. Oh gosh, what was his name? Vorstadt, Barstat, something like that. Captain, very, very amiable fellow.
Yes.
I could introduce you.
Well, I feel we may have already been introduced. I believe this drink was from him, was it not?
Oh, so you're the person that apparently Silene stole from. Okay, right. Yeah, that makes
Just
sense.
coming out and say it.
I'm glad you said that. Would have been an awkward encounter. That's for sure. But nah, you don't need the military. Gosh. It's not like they actually help.
I mean, I would strongly disagree with that. This place wouldn't be as in order and um, incident free as it is without them. We have a lot to thank them for, our lives for one.
Well, I mean, please don't take this personally. I kind of forgot that you did say that you're an ex-military person yourself. It's not quite what I meant. What in the dense population centers such as here, of course there's going to be a good presence, but as soon as you head any further out, well, that's they just forget about you. There's no help coming out there.
Well, I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. My troop were dispatched to many of the duchies surrounding the city. It was a regular occurrence to be spending weeks at a time in different cities. I believe I set foot in all of them at one point or another.
Well, that must mean that you're one of the good ones, because I can tell you when I needed help, there was none. That's for sure. But I'm glad there's still some good ones out there. Sorry, I get very sentimental once I've woken up. Berin's going to now very awkwardly just kind of detach himself from the conversation. Just going like, right, stick your foot in it. Why not? Yep, sure, great. Go out, they said. Meet the world, they said.
I feel like I know that exact moment. It's where you're at a party and you're two people having a conversation that naturally comes to an end, but neither of you can really leave each other, so you just sort of trail off into silence, but are still stood there like, this is awkward.
I think all the while Silene is sitting there listening to this conversation while being vaguely aware that Varric is not only acting strange, but then also sort of like checked
Visik?
out. Visik, yeah. It's like checked out, just a few feet away. So she's probably in an awkward position as well, which is also why I would like Silene to roll me a perception check.
You're right. What? This is my first natural 20 of the game. Don't know why I wasted it on this, but here we are.
This is actually probably the most useful roll in the game so far. Because you see it all. Not only do you see that, like, Varric is, like, his
Visik?
mask. Why do I keep calling him Varric?
I do not know.
His mask is, like, moving as though he is watching someone, which he is. He is watching the monarch. And you see his, like, hands down by his side, and you see his fingers, like, ticking down as though he's counting. And then you start to watch the monarch and realize that she is stopping and talking to very specific people. And at this point, she's stopped and she's spoken with the gold dragonborn, who has a name, I swear. And she has spoken with Henry. She has spoken with the rabbit-faced and the raven-faced people at the same time. She spoke with the dragonborn that like losing all the names. I swear to God, I'm good at this. What's stupid is I actually have all of their names in front of me. I just keep on clicking away from the page that I need all these NPCs names at. There we go. Artemisia, she's like stopped and talked to her. And she stopped and spoke with a Goliath woman, just like one of the first times you've ever seen a Goliath on this continent, who is like kind of that lady's kind of tugging at her dress in uncomfortable ways, and then after talking with the monarch, she made her way out into the gardens. But she stopped and spoke with, I think it's a grand total of 8 people. And Visik is also counting to 8 on his fingers. And then you notice that she begins to drift toward you, your group.
Okay. So Silene has noticed which of the people she has also now at this point noticed all 8 of the people that the monarch has spoken to, or just the 5 that you mentioned.
Who did I not mention?
Okay, so you have the gold dragonborn, who I think is the one who's the boar.
Yeah, that's
the,
Borstad.
Yeah, Henry, the rabbit and the raven.
Yep.
Artemisia and the Goliath woman.
And then she also spoke with the person that Artemisia was dancing with. The green.
That was another dragonborn, like a slim.
The green slender dragonborn. And I guess just all the while, and maybe this will be a count, so maybe it'll only be 7, but this is sort of a notable thing. All the while, after each interaction, she's the white dragonborn that's following her kind of stops and they sort of share a hushed conversation.
Now the white dragonborn is the one that also has like cracks, kind of like Visik's, but they're red.
Right.
I feel like at some point Silene has looked at the 2 of them and been like, they stole my aesthetic. She's wearing red.
Pretty. Oh.
And he's white and red, and she's like,
you stole my outfit. It's that moment where, like, as the monarch comes up and the dragonborn follows, he looks at you and you look at him and you're just like, who wore it best?
Who wore it better? Yeah. No, she wouldn't say that, but you know.
So you have a fair amount of warning before the monarch just sort of materializes in front of you.
I think then, like, as the conversation is happening, she'll kind of just like to this, just kind of under her breath or just like quietly to the group be like, the monarch is approaching this way. Just prepare. And then she also prepares herself.
There's sort of that awkward moment where someone is coming to talk to you, so you can't go anywhere, but you don't, like, everything else sort of fades. Can't really like keep on talking about something else because you're going to get interrupted.
So adjusts her like a strap. Well, I think she set her instruments down, so she doesn't have her music on hand. But...
The monarch approaches the 4 of you and kind of turns her dragon mask to each of you in turn. Visik is like kind of doing the equivalent of staring off and whistling, except without whistling. And she says, "Welcome, the 4 of you, to my home. I see that you have all gotten my invitations. How are you enjoying yourselves?"
It is a most lovely and gracious party. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to be here, as does my companion. Please do let me know when you're ready for me to perform.
Well, that's a wonderful coincidence, because I was coming to tell you just that. It is about time for your performance, Silene.
Thank you, and once again, I am truly grateful for the opportunity. And like deep, fancy curtsy.
She nods her mask and says, "I only hope that I can provide for you the chance to rise up in names that no other bard has carried."
Oh, that sounds cryptic.
And then she looks at Tara and says, "And you, I hear you have served for the mages. Is this correct?"
What would they call her? Like, Your Majesty, Your Highness, Your Monarchness? What's the kind of...
Your Monarchness? Majesty would probably be fine. Highness would be, any of those, I guess, imperial titles would probably work just fine.
Okay. She'd give like a very stiff, brief like bow, and be like, "Yes, Your Majesty. Feels weird saying. It was an honor to serve under your name. I would be. I can't say honored again. I
You
would.
might.
I would love to take that role back up for you and continue to protect your lands.
And she just nods and says, "And I am sure you will have the chance."
Well, thank you for the invitation and for putting on such an extravagant and lavish occasion.
She kind of gestures towards the crowd and says, "Well, it is for them after all. I could do with a night at home, reading. I don't need all of this finery."
Very generous of you.
And then she turns to Berin and says, "And you? How fare the mists?"
Berin kind of, takes his fist and kind of thumps his chest, and then does a little bow and says, "The mists are as dangerous as ever, Your Highness. May I say that it is such a wondrous opportunity to be here amongst such people of great standing as yourself and your guests. It is something that I have never experienced before and likely will never again. And from all of the clans, I do thank you for all that you do for us. And hopefully, through our traveling, we are able to bring a little bit of the outside back into your palace."
I have wondered for some time, do the orcs have a way of combat that differs from our own?
Unfortunately, as far as combat goes, we learn the most from the tomes that are left in your cities and libraries. The only difference between ourselves and those who don't particularly enjoy the travels is our unusual ability to, well, not get killed. We just seem to be able to feel the vibrations upon the mists a little better, but it comes with experience rather than anything innate to ourselves.
Your people have brought the firearms, though. Master Fourmark, have you used one of these weapons yourself?
Unfortunately, that's not something that I'm particularly versed in, shall we say. I of more traditional ways of fighting. It's, or it was, I should say, a bit of a contention point between myself and my family, the usage of the powder and firearms. It's not particularly the way that I like to do things, and well, with the clan the way that it is, it looks like it's not something I will be able to pursue any further.
She nods and says, "I am slightly disappointed. I had hoped to see a display, but it cannot be helped, I suppose."
Then let me say to you, Your Highness, that I will endeavor to find some of these firearms and learn the ways, and hopefully get invited back once more to provide you with these displays of finery.
"That would be a delight." And then she turns and says, "And Master Alrius, your father was quite pleased to hear that I had invited you personally. You are enjoying yourself now?" And he just goes, "I think I need another drink now, please." And Visik just sort of awkwardly backs out of this situation, and the dragon head turns and looks at the white dragonborn, and it looks back, and then she looks back at your group and says, well, Silene, if you would, we would be happy to hear your performances. Enjoy. And she sort of backs away. And as she like makes her way back towards the center of the ballroom, the stairs descend again. And as they do, the monarch makes her way up them, as do a choice few of the guests. The white dragonborn follows her, as do the raven and rabbit masked individuals, as well as Professor Henry. The five of them make it onto the balcony overlooking the ballroom, and the stairs sort of fold back up, and the rail of the balcony comes up again. And they take seats, and servants bring them food and drink from other parts of the manor, and they sort of observe the ballroom area. Yeah. Visik has gone off to try to find booze again. The three of you are sort of left to your own devices, although Selene's been asked to perform. What are you guys going to do?
Well, two things. As like Silene kind of watches Visik go back to the bar and recalls what he just said to the monarch, she's just kind of to the others. She says, "He is much worse than I remember. At this, I do not know what has happened to him, but
he's not someone I've come across. I really know of. He did seem rather dismissive, and I must say downright rude to the monarch, but
he at least used to know the formalities better. His family and my family have a bit of a history in Sarkany. Let's just say that, was it Alrius? Is that how you're pronouncing it? That the Alrius family lost their seat of governorship a few generations back to the Toth family. So we know each other, but this is unlike anything that I have ever seen from that family before. And the green is also new. And then she goes back and like looks up at the balcony with the white dragonborn and says, "There's something else going on here that I don't quite understand yet."
Perhaps there's some sort of sickness going around within the Dragonborn community. Like you, it's not something I've really seen before. Or they found a new way to decorate themselves, I guess.
Yeah, it's possible. Actually, like when Tara said the word sickness, like Silene kind of perked up, and then kind of tiny shake of the head, like, okay, not what I was expecting. At any rate, this is my cue. I hope that you enjoy the performance. And she nods to Berin and says, I suppose you'll want to be closer to the stage at this point. If someone carries tales to my mothers, I want them to at least believe that you have been protecting me. So without saying really much more, she kind of turns and heads for the stage.
Berin's going to kind of have give a remark to Tara and they never respect their elders anymore. I've stopped so many people from trying to kill her, mostly myself. And then just kind of stomps off.
Tara raises an eyebrow, but goes back to sort of leaning on the wall. Wine glass still in hand, but folds her arms, still not drinking it.
Um,
That was good.
as Silene is selecting her instrument, the monarch stands over her balcony and raises her arms and addresses the hall and says, "Everyone gather around, for Silene Vermilion is going to take center stage and enrapture us with her arts." And as she says this, the much like it did when she came down the steps, the ballroom floor begins to raise again. This time it's it doesn't reach the very center pinnacle part, which is about wide enough for a single person to stand on, but it's about 4 layers raised to the highest peak, which is wide enough of a stage for someone to get on top of and perform. But it is like dead center, like on a dais, but still everyone who's looking from the balconies is looking down on you, but anybody who's on the ballroom floor level is looking up at you. Uh, that is the stage that you are to perform on.
All right. So Silene has gotten out her balalaika first, which is it's not exactly a traditional balalaika in the sense that I think that is originally a Russian instrument with 3 strings. Hers has more strings than that, but it does have the signature sort of triangular shaped body. And it looks real badass. And it's beautifully, absolutely beautifully painted with florals, red and like different shades of red and white with like hints of a couple different shades of blue. And like just elaborate. And so she comes up to the stage and she's tuning it. And while she's tuning it, her voice, which is she's now projecting without making it seem like she's projecting. Like this is a practiced move. She says, "Greetings to everyone, and it is such an honor to be here. I am Silene Vermilion, but some of you may also know me as Lady Silene of House Toth Karas." She says it better than Alex does, because Alex is just little. Lady Silene of House Toth Karas. However, tonight I am just a simple bard wanting to share some of my music with you and to relate to you just a little bit of knowledge about me. Some of you may have heard, about 4 years ago, I nearly died. The experience was harrowing, and I came out of that experience completely changed. I no longer look quite the same as I did, and I found in the wake of that tragedy a new love for the spirit of music and a talent for speaking with the spirits around us. I would be privileged to be able to share some of that with you today, and a bit of my story, but I'll keep most of it to myself. But you'll have to earn the knowledge about what truly happened to me over time. But feel free to tell me what your theories are. I would love to collect them. And by that time, she's finished tuning up. And she kind of waits a couple beats to make sure everyone's ready, and then launches into this. It's actually, it is a classic folk song that it's about. It's one of the trial songs, so it's all about the trials of one of the duchies, and it's about star-crossed lovers who are both entering into the trials of each other's duchy so they can go to live with them, but they both but because they, it's one of those really stupid sort of gift of the magi sort of things. We're like, oh, but we're in the wrong countries now, and but her twist on it is, in the end, is that because they are have both risen to the ranks of noble, one of them has decided that they would rather just continue to be in this new duchy that they have earned their ranks in than be with the other person, and then goes on to live a very successful life. So it's a little bit snarky. But it's like it's upbeat. It's fast moving. She gets some like fancy, finger work in there with the balalaika. And her voice is very good. I'm not going to sing the song because I didn't write it. I don't have a song to sing.
No song for you. Yeah. As she is performing, Visik, who's like kind of was at first just leaning against the bars back to the stage, turns and throughout the performance is like slowly taking steps towards the stage until by the end of it he is just like pretty much front and center, kind of swaying to the music. What are the rest of you
Eh,
doing?
That's new, right? Yeah.
Berin, want to go first?
Ooh. Berin is not petty at all, so is actively looking out into the crowd and just, a little bit of crowd control, just kind of like, right, okay, back it up, back it up. She said that you need to earn her trust first. Okay, I see you. Yeah, you in the mask. Back it up. And just kind of when Silene is doing her sort of soliloquy, Berin's just like, right, okay, is anyone catching any like facial expressions? Is anybody listening really intently? What's the word in the crowd? Because Berin's down with the kids.
Make an insight check.
So as per usual, that was an incredibly good roll of 8.
You are looking around and yeah, it seems like most of the room is listening with pretty apt attention. It's not the same sort of reaction that Visik is having, which probably is a little bit of an unusual reaction to have to an upbeat song. Everyone else in the crowd seems to be kind of like, bopping with the tune, doing a little bit of a dance or like a little bit of like a slap the knee. But aside
Yeehaw.
from Visik, you don't see anybody who's like overly interested in the song more than would be considered kind of usual.
So with Visik, no, Berin's just going to kind of ignore Visik because he already knows that he's quite a character. So, it's like pancakes. The first one always, it's always a bit of a throwaway.
I've learned in the amount of time I've played that ignoring Visik is the right idea.
I was wondering, is this going to be DM Asa or is this going to be Father Asa?
A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
So Berin might notice though if he is being particularly observant of the crowd.
It's not.
Not Visik, Berin.
Rolled an 8.
Again, not you. Matt's character.
Golden 8.
Are we on the same?
Sorry.
Oh yeah, sorry. Well, he still might notice because she makes a little bit of a commotion. Back over where they left Tara. Not too long into the song. She pushes herself up from the wall like abruptly. And she's sort of shaking a little bit. Her face kind of is now screwed into this sort of unhappy, almost like she's kind of smelt something bad kind of look. And she turns and thrusts her wine glass at the nearest person, out of nowhere, full force, straight into like their chest, spills wine everywhere. Doesn't even stop to see if the person takes the glass. So whether they just, their reactions are, slow and it falls and smashes, I don't know. By that time, she's already making her way and pushing her way out through the crowds, trying to find the door to get outside.
You thrust the drink in the direction of a person, dimly hear it shatter on the ground. And the nearest exit is to the gardens, pretty much like across the opposite end of the ballroom that you're at. That is the nearest exit.
Oh god, okay. She's picked up a bit of a jog.
Yeah, you make your way through the doors, just breathe in the fresh air of the night. You are in a garden full of low hedges that sort of lead in a deliberately winding labyrinth that stops here and there at statues. Yeah, it's not a very large garden, and it's designed specifically to show off these particular statues. But yeah, it's where you are.
She will work her way through these statues. At one point, puts a hand against one of them. There are dogs out in the garden too. She like goes to reach one. She's a little bit like unbalanced on her feet now. She's kind of looking like she's looking for somewhere to throw up. She grabs hold of sort of an outstretched, maybe one of them has like an arrow or something. It's quite a thin piece of stone, but she reaches out and it just sort of crumbles under her hands, which throws her a bit off balance again, and she sort of stumbles and then manages to make her way to wherever she can get, where it's like a corner of hedge, and she sits in that corner staring into the corner of hedge, just breathing this like nighttime air, mentally just like counting. She might even start like counting out loud, just from 1 onwards. Yeah, she sits and actually, and she'll cover her. She'll have her arms wrapped around herself, trying and just sort of, yeah.
All right.
Oh, Silene sees none of that. All she saw was the girl that she's been hitting on all night, just like up and walking out the moment she starts singing. Which,
up and half jogging out.
Yeah, like not, yeah, even like just like rushing out. And like there's like a bit of a falter, just a little bit in her performance for a second. And then she like picks it back up again and it's playing even more lively and showy than before. I did forget to mention that before she started performing, she attached like an anklet of bells to one of her fabulous red boots ankle, and then has been like stomping out the jingles while she's been playing. So it's very lively. That's the whole point. And once it's done, then she, waits for applause, et cetera, and then puts away the balalaika and gets out her fiddle.
As the song ends, the loudest of applauses is heard from above on the balcony, where the VIP group went with the Monarch. There, Professor Henry is clapping and mooting and proclaiming Selene's brilliance.
Oh God, Mom's friends are the worst.
Yeah, your parents' friends get up there, they want to support you,
Oh, so embarrassing.
Absolutely.
Whatever.
Visik is like awkwardly clapping with the crowd. Everyone else around is not as enthusiastic as Henry, but they're also cheering and calling for more.
So as she tunes the violin now, she once again, conversationally but projecting to the crowd, says, I hope you enjoyed my little twist on a traditional tale. Sometimes happy endings aren't what you expect, don't you think? And then kind of changes the tone of her voice and says, now I would like to provide us with something a little more toned down, but something that will make us really feel the spirit of this truly amazing and terrifying and beautiful island that we live on. And then it's just an instrumental piece, and it's a minor key. It has this like eerie soaring melody that constantly shifts And she does like double string playing, so that as she progresses, so that there's more harmonies beneath it. Her fiddle is very similar to a Hardanger fiddle or a Hardingfell, which has extra strings that vibrate sympathetically as you play, and it's inlaid with just absolutely beautiful, like iridescent shell and different colors of wood in this pattern. It's an old family heirloom, and it looks like it. And the sound that comes out of it is just kind of this pure, almost glacial depth, especially as the strings vibrate. And the melody is, it's actually, by the time she gets to it, it is quite like heart-wrenching.
As Tara sits outside, sort of regaining her composure, her breath is like, under control. You hear a rustling in the hedges not far from you.
Just snap my head round to where it is.
It is, it's in the hedges, just behind you, like not the ones you're leaning against, but like you're close enough, and it is moving in your direction, in like a kind of back and forth pattern. Imagine like a dog sniffing around, nose to the ground, kind of going back and forth. It's kind of moving in that sort of pattern in your direction, and you can hear like a faint growling coming from the movement.
But I can't see anything.
It's in the hedge itself.
Start to edge away from. I don't want to say the word because I realize.
Edge from the hedge.
Yep.
As you back away, the thing's getting closer and closer, and then it bursts from the hedge. This reptilian four-legged creature. It's probably about as big as a smallish dog, like a 20-pound dog. Kind of is about, and not one that costs 20 pounds, but one that weighs 20 pounds. Jumps out of the hedges and like kind of like lunges at you. Its scales are like a almost like an ice blue, and it like lunges in your direction. What are you gonna do?
I think instinctively she kind of combat rolls to the side to not let it jump her.
All right, make a is that an athletics? I'll let you choose athletics or acrobatics to maneuver your way through.
Acrobatics, I guess.
Okay.
20. Not natural.
All right. Yeah, your combat instincts kick in, and you just roll out of the way. It bounds to where you were at, and like almost yips as it lands where you were. Its tail is swaying back and forth, and a voice behind you says, "Oh, he likes you."
Get up. She stands up and her brushes her clothes down and turns to look to the voice.
The voice is coming from a tall woman with grayish skin. She's got short white hair, and she's wearing a dress that's just it's almost like it's too small, but it's not even that. It's more just like it doesn't fit on her. She seems very uncomfortable in it. She's constantly trying to adjust something with one hand. The other hand, she's holding a very large cigar that she's smoking from, and she stands taller even than Artemisia, and she's a Goliath, one of the few that has ever made it to the islands. Um, and she says, "Oh, don't mind Spectre. He's harmless. I'm Amelia. It's. I thought I was the only one out here."
Amelia, it's a pleasure to meet you. My name is Tara. I apologize if I interrupted anything out here for you. I just needed some fresh air. The drink, just, drank a little too much.
She looks back at the building and then says, "Yeah, music too. That last song is a little too heart-wrenching, if you ask me."
Just kind of quietly, sort of with that little sort of nod, but not like an agreement nod. It's that just kind of like, when someone else gives an opinion, but you don't want to be like, well, no, actually. But it's just kind of like a.
She says, "Well, Tara, I appreciate the company. I don't know why we have to dress fancy for these things."
Suppose the event or the occasion calls for it.
Yeah, I suppose. My normal clothes probably wouldn't fit with this high-standing, posh crowd. To be honest, I'm not even sure why I'm here. They wouldn't even let me bring Spectre inside, and she kneels down and starts to scratch the Drake under the chin.
I mean, Tara doesn't really know what to say. I guess I can understand that. My own normal attire probably wouldn't be quite at home here either.
Yeah. I actually, as a GM, don't have anything else to say there. She's just sort of scratching her Drake, and then she pulls out a piece of meat from a pouch and kind of throws it to the Drake, and Spectre just starts to chew on it and nibble away at the meat, and then she just continues to smoke from her cigar and says, "Well, I don't mind the company. You're welcome to stick around as long as you'd like."
Thanks.
Back inside, Berin, how's he doing?
He's just he's really focused now when he shouldn't be. He should be like gazing out, watching everything just happening before him, but instead he's just like, right, okay, well, my charge wants me to look as if I'm protecting her, so sure, I'll do that. I'll just kind of like be like, well, I can beat you, I can beat you, I can beat you. That's not even a competition. I can beat you. And just something with the final song just kind of causes him to just go rigid. The eerie haunting melody, just something tugs at him, and he's just like, nope. And as soon as Silene is kind of motions that she sort of finished her set, he's just like, right, okay, let's can we go now? Can we go now? You're done. Can we go? We're going.
But she's not done yet.
I was gonna ask.
Go on.
Again, Henry meets this second song with enthusiasm. The crowd applauds. The green dragonborn that you haven't actually been introduced to is leaning over the other balcony above the reception or on the reception area, and you can tell that he is visibly weeping. Go on.
All right, well, at least I've done my work a little. She doesn't say that out loud, obviously. As the song winds down and kind of just trails off onto a single note, it sounds like she's speaking quietly, but she's still projecting. She just says, and before I leave, I would like to grant us all one more piece of, well, something that I am one of the few people who can provide this. With the monarch's permission, I would like to call upon the spirits. And she looks up at the monarch's balcony.
The monarch is just sitting in a fine chair with a high back that is kind of spiked, almost like a dragon crown, and she just nods. Henry is leaning over the balcony, and the raven and the rabbit, are sort of like leaning back on a couch together, both seeming a little bit disinterested. But yeah, she nods for your spirit contact to happen.
Okay, so I am winging this because I just thought of this like 10 minutes ago, but here we go. So she goes to one of her other bags and pulls out some of her. She always brings like just a ton of stuff with her. So she brings out some candles and a dark mirror and her her deck of tarot cards and a flute, a small flute that she draws from her pack that it's kind of an ivory color, almost like old bone, and intricately carved, kind of strange looking. And she comes back to the center stage and like arranges the candles and uses a little prestidigitation. I can words. To light them all at once, and brings the flute up and says, "This is going to be just a simple mutual welcome experience I would like to provide. As you know, we are surrounded by the people that we love and have lost at all times, but every once in a while, to be able to bridge that gap with each other is a service that the members of the college that I study at are able to provide to you. I am a student of the College of Spirits, and this is my final gift to you this evening." And she's actually like, this is kind of, she's sincere about this part. Like, this isn't just showmanship. This is just like part of what she thinks being a spirit bard is. And so she starts to play just a few notes on the flute, and it almost sounds like it's coming from far away. And it starts out really quiet and it gets louder and then it goes back down again. And it doesn't really sound like a regular flute. It sounds more like the wind. And she closes her eyes, and like a single tear like comes down her cheek as she plays, and the candles begin to flicker. And then what happens next, DM?
That's interesting. What does happen next? Well, the first thing that happens is that the steel rings of the floor, the metal rings of the floor, begin to spin on their own.
Ooh.
And as they do, a mist begins to flow from like beneath your feet, and it starts to sort of rise up faintly, and Rabbit Face stands up, and you can hear him notably saying, that is an interesting reaction. It's about time something happened here." And then the steel or the metal rings actually begin to start to like lift from the floor in more like a circular pattern around where you're on stage. And this kind of throws your performance off a little bit because you weren't expecting it.
Mhm.
But the mist still kind of flows out of you, and it stops after you stop performing, and it begins to sort of flow down through the space where the rings used to be. The rings are beginning to all move and swirl around you a little bit faster and a little bit faster. And then you're kind of like hearing the whirl of machinery below you as they begin to speed up, and the monarch has stood up and come to the balcony and is like staring down at you. The rest of the people in the VIP section have kind of taken a step back, and then you hear a like a cry, and a moment later, arms grab you and yank you from the metal rings, and then there's a shout of pain, and you are sprayed with blood as you're pulled free from these spinning rings, and the arm that was wrapped around you like falls free, and you can see the hand is a golden clawed hand, and the owner of said hand, uh, Captain Borstad, is like laying on the ground next to you, just hollering with pain as blood is pouring from his severed limb. And he is trying to shout like, "What is the meaning of this?" But he's also just in absolute pain. And then the rings. Now that you're kind of off the ballroom entirely, the rings begin to swirl and spin so fast that it's sort of putting off almost a shock wave. And then a moment later, the domed roof overhead, it is like a stained glass domed roof. It shatters and sprays down colored glass all over the party. Yeah, I think as that happens, the party up on the balcony, the VIP party, began to kind of rush into the elevator. The monarch has taken off her mask at this point and sets it down next to her. She is in a human form with golden hair that kind of is pulled back, and her face is painted red. And she is looking down at you and at this scene with a just smile of menacing glee. And then she turns and follows the rest of her cabinet into the elevator, closes the door, and it rises, leaving the party as is, with the golden dragonborn in pain, missing a limb, Visik sort of coming out of a bit of a stupor, you laying on the ground, like having been pulled out of danger you didn't fully realize what was happening until it was a little too late. And then I'm Amelia and Tara could hear the glass shatter from outside. I'm assuming the two of them kind of like rush in, and Berin's probably like, I needed to be reacting at the moment too, so I'm assuming he is immediately at your side. Although I'm taking the narrative stance. If you guys want to actually explain what your characters do, I was just working on an outro section.
Yeah.
All right.
No, that's it.
So yeah, the Dragonborn Matthias is the Green Dragonborn is still like standing on the other balcony looking down at you. Artemisia was like on her way down the stairs when this is happening, and all of the other guests, as soon as this glass shatters, are gone. The servants are gone. The guards are gone. Anyone that's not the aid of you has disappeared.
Well, shit.